Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we are in game number 1 of this best of 5. Spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, the red Protoss player from Storm Gaming. Give it up for PiiLiPiLi. And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, the orange Protoss player from Evil Geniuses. Give it up for HuK. People saying that my mic was crackling. That sometimes happens when I mute myself. Should be okay now. Usually it just takes a little while to. Oh, is HuK AFK? HuK definitely said GL. Hold on. I'm gonna do something right now to validate myself. He said GL. I'm gonna double check. Oh my god. Oh my god. I am so dumb. It wasn't HuK that said GL. I saw Protoss say GL and I was 90% sure HuK had said it. Because HuK is Protoss. And I'm an idiot. You know what? I'm done. I'm done making the lobbies. I have messed up enough lobbies today. Someone else want to host? Okay. Alright, well, they're telling me to keep making. Oh boy. Man, this is the one thing that I wish I did have a caster for. Like I can kind of deal with everything else, but I do hate when I mess up something with like the actual game itself. Like making it on the wrong map and forcing the players to like regame and all that stuff. It just like creates that delay between, luckily it's not between the games just yet, but it is still very annoying. Okay. Inviting take TV. No build order. Take TV, hit accept. HuK and PiiLiPiLi have both said ready, and I am confirmed that they are ready. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Let's as we get things started, do you want to give some background information as we get things started? Both HuK and PiiLiPiLi. Obviously, HuK has been the more accomplished player. Oh my god, of the 2 games that we have on record, because HuK has not been playing a lot, he has a 100% win rate. That's amazing. But I think more informative will just be their match history, because these guys have played against each other a couple of times. PiiLiPiLi does have a winning match score versus HuK, which is pretty freaking cool, considering it looks up to him. But more recently, it seems like the last 2 times they face off against each other in the past, it's not even necessarily the past couple months, it's the past like 7 months, they faced off against each other twice. And it seems like HuK has been dominating him. One of them was in the DreamHack Austin qualifiers, but that was 3 months ago, and the other one was Seamasters, that was 6 months ago. So I'm not going to give too much weight to it. It really could go either way, ladies and gentlemen. Let's do it. Okay. Spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. Once again, actually active. You can see the APM tab is at a non-zero number. Give it up for Evil Geniuses HuK. And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. We have the red Protoss player. It's Storm Gaming's PiiLiPiLi. Okay, well, we got double gateways coming out from both these players. Now, we've seen that PiiLiPiLi tends to like to make, or kind of mixes it up between the types of openings, whether he's going to make Stalkers or Adepts or whatnot. But we haven't really seen too much of HuK in PvP. HuK used to be known for his PvP being so good. And a lot of it did come down to the, you know, top 3 control jokes, where PvP has always been a very control-intensive matchup. Alright. Sorry, just talking with someone really quickly about something. But we do have everything finishing up. We'll find out what they're going to be doing. I mentioned this before, but this is definitely one of the maps where I think any sort of air units, warp prisms, blink stalkers that can jump over the cliffs and everything, oracles, they're all fairly nice to have on this map, especially if it moves into the mid and late game. But another kind of weird thing is that I'm always interested in is whether or not third expansions go down at the forward location where they're just expanding right across from each other, or if they're going to go down to those back further safer expansions that are maybe a little bit easier to defend. Well, for now, we do have, I think, the first 2 stalkers opening up, but at the same time, HuK only opening up with a single stalker, and the second unit is a sentry. But not only that, but he still opened up with the 2 gateway opening, and that makes me think that he opened up 2 gateways, saw what PiiLiPiLi was doing. He must have seen something that triggered him to say like, "Oh, you're opening up with the stalkers. Okay, cool. I don't have to worry about the adepts. I'm just gonna make a sentry. Like, that's fine. I can get started on this a little bit earlier." Normally you want to make that stalker if you're worried, or the extra stalker if you're worried about an oracle opening or something along those lines, but this is a cool little rearrangement. It allows him to get up a faster nexus. As you can see, it is a bit faster. Roboxility comes out and the tech comes out a bit quicker. But Warp Gate is continuously being chrono boosted out for PiiLiPiLi. I'm always curious whether or not players really rely or think too much about where their Chronos boost goes. I know I've talked to some players like Bales, where Bales just says, you know what, Chrono boost, I don't even care. It's on whatever it is. Doesn't make a huge difference to me. But I know some players do like to think about the small, even if it's not a huge benefit anymore like it used to be in Heart of the Swarm, it can still play a bit of an impact in your build. Getting out a couple more probes, obviously, but even beyond that. And speaking of a couple more probes, PiiLiPiLi cutting probes for just a little bit. It's not a long period of time, but it does cut a few probes and is going to be falling a slightly behind HuK in terms of that working count. It's just those small things. They don't really make a huge difference early on, but as the game goes on, they kind of start to add up, and sometimes you can end up having 1 or 2 extra stalkers in that big engagement, and that does make a big difference. Having those 1 or 2 extra stalkers that are actively attacking the whole time, or if you have an extra sentry, an extra immortal, maybe your observer pops out, or your second robo pops out a little bit earlier on. For now, though, seems like HuK is going really sentry heavy. He really likes the force field capabilities in PvP, it seems like. PiiLiPiLi only sticking around. I mean, he has his own sentries around as well. He's gotten up his... Oh, he's gotten up 5 sentries. So both these players going pretty heavy. We have a Warp Prism out for HuK, though. Warp Prism also out for PiiLiPiLi. These look like fairly mirrored builds, but there is a Twilight Council coming down behind this for HuK. And HuK also ended up cutting workers. No, sorry, PiiLiPiLi ended up cutting workers again a little bit more. So you can see he's starting to fall further and further behind. He's earlier was only down 2 workers. Now he's down 5 workers. HuK is looking for an opportunity to move in, and I mean, he has those sentries loaded up in the Warp Prism. That's the scary thing about all of this, is that if he gets the force field down, yeah, it's not necessarily as game-ending as it is versus, say, a Zerg player who is then just relying on larva popping out. You can still get your Warpins in the main base, and of course the Roboxility is going to be producing immortals and everything. But it still can be a really scary time. And of course there is, oh, an immortal already getting its hardened shields triggered over here. HuK in very aggressive with the sentry dropping at the very front line. And, wow, able to kill off a lot of PiiLiPiLi's sentries. That's a pretty big deal. PiiLiPiLi only has 2 sentries left over. Now, they do have a good bit of energy still. But HuK is moving up to the main base. He's going to plant down that... he loses a sentry. He's going to lose a second sentry to the Photron Overcharge. Okay, well, recall happens. That's interesting. PiiLiPiLi had a Warp Prism. Where is that Warp Prism? Warp Prism was on the other side of the map. I guess he was trying to make some damage happen. He did kill off 5 workers, likely with some Adept harassment, but PiiLiPiLi is doing a pretty good job of holding on so far. He's really not taking too much damage. It seems like HuK was able to clean things up with the Photon Overcharge himself, but behind this, Twilight Council did finish up, and it seems like HuK is having to back up. He doesn't really feel like he can make a whole lot more happen over here. The Twilight Council for HuK that he made didn't really do anything for a while, though, and he is getting up Blink now, but PiiLiPiLi's Twilight Council was a good bit later, and he is getting up Blink at the exact same time, so I think PiiLiPiLi is probably going to be walking away a bit happier with how everything went and traded out. He's a small bit up ahead in terms of that army supply. He's a small bit up ahead in terms of the worker supply, or he was until he started losing some of these workers to the Adepts. But third expansion comes out really quickly for HuK. I can't tell if I'm just getting really tired, but I think that this Nexus is one space off, right? This is a one space off Nexus. I'm not going crazy. This should be right here. Oh well, we'll find out at some point, I assume. Dark Shrine gonna be coming down for PiiLiPiLi, because he is maybe thinking about getting up to 3 bases at some point, but even if he doesn't, Dark Shrine is just it's traditional PiiLiPiLi. It's very typical PiiLiPiLi. War Prism is still moving around, looking for an opportunity to get some damage done. Not able to make a whole lot more. He's already done some pretty nice damage, killing off a couple of workers here and there with very limited numbers of Adepts. He's going to be warping a lot of Stalkers and trying to get a bit more aggressive. He's got 3 Immortals facing off versus the 2 Immortals of HuK, although that 3rd Immortal is going to be popping out pretty soon for him. We'll see what the army engagement actually ends up happening. Both these players also finishing up Blink at almost the exact same time. With the Warp Prism there, though, he can potentially try and take out an Observer. No, he doesn't have any detection himself, so you cannot kill off HuK's Observer. His Dark Templar will not be able to get involved in this fight, but the Dark Templar, since there's there's 2 Observers out right now, and they're both with the army. Maybe you could make some Dark Templar harassment happen in the main base in the natural. For now, though, it's going to be a big engagement. The Immortals on the high ground getting a pretty good series of shots over here. A lot of PiiLiPiLi's army is getting sort of caught between attacking probes, the Nexus, as well as other things, but I think that he still just has so many powerful units in his Warp Prism Micro. Both of their Warp Prism Micro is really solid. The problem is, look at how many Stalkers were just attacking the Nexus. PiiLiPiLi does move forward, takes out the Warp Prism. That's going to cut down on HuK's micro potential, and despite all of the setbacks in terms of his DPS output, he does manage to push HuK back even further. He blinks forward, taking out 1 of the Immortals. He does still have 3 of his own Immortals alive as well. And I think that if he has enough reinforcements to just buffer the damage, he should be able to push on in further and at least take out this 3rd expansion. He hasn't gone and killed it off, though. War Prism's getting Focus Fire down. It will likely end up falling, but of course the 3 Immortals are still alive. HuK's pulling probes. He's down to 25 workers. I think this might be it, and PiiLiPiLi maybe taking game number 1. There it is, GG. And he takes the first game off of the man that he looked up to for so long, which I think is just really, really cool. But HuK is definitely not one of those players that gets phased by losing 1, 2, or maybe even 3 games. I think he's probably okay with. And the other thing is, I'm not sure how much this is really true. HuK is one of those players that has not been playing as much lately. Let me actually quickly, I'm going to focus on this. I don't want to mess this up. I have already made myself look bad enough. Frost was the first map. Cool. King Sejong Station. King Sejong Station is the next map. I am making it with a WCS Game Heart overlay. We are inviting HuK. We are inviting PiiLiPiLi. We're inviting TakeTV. And with that, I'll make sure the players are in the right spots. As I'll put music back on. I'll make sure players are in the correct spots. And I'll assume that, or I will make sure that they are both ready, and not just misread who said that they were ready. It's just so weird because I'm not used to casters saying that they're ready. Because usually casters just like, whatever, we're here, we're like ready at any time. As soon as the players are ready, we'll get started. Okay, PiiLiPiLi and HuK are both ready. GLHF is called. I'm making myself a referee so I can talk with them if something happens. Okay, King Sejong Station is going to be the next map, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for bearing with me through that. We'll see you guys in a second. Oh, that's the wrong screen. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in game number 2 of our second to last best of 5 of the day. Oh man, we still got some more to go. We have in the bottom right hand corner of the map the orange Protoss player from Evil Geniuses. Give it up for HuK. And his opponent spawning up here in the top left hand corner of the map from Psystorm Gaming, the red Protoss player, sending up 1-0. It's PiiLiPiLi. And we once again got that double gateway opening coming out for both these players. HuK in that last game, he went for the double gateway opening, but he only made one stalker. So he could opt to get up a faster Nexus, to get up a faster Sentry. We'll see if he does something similar again. Obviously, we're not going to be finding that out for a little bit, since it's so sad. I remember the good old days of PvP where you'd see those zealots being made, and even the charge-led Archon style, which I think was popular again for a little bit, but has definitely faded off once again. And alas, the poor zealots are no longer involved in these PvPs. PvP has definitely come a long way. And I think to me, it's always been the coolest mirror matchup, because I always feel like there's always been a huge micro potential in the matchup. An enormous micro potential in the matchup. And I think that you could always talk about, yeah, ZVZ also has a micro potential. But I think the important thing is, ZVZ has the micro potential with like the Ling, Baneling and stuff in the beginning. But I oftentimes feel like in the fight, ZVZ versus PvP, after the fight has started, after the concaves and the upgrades and all the other stuff has been decided. Ooh, what is that? Is that a pylon he just canceled? I think he just canceled a pylon. Isn't he gonna get supply blocked? Wait a second. Oh, HuK is building a proxy pylon. Wait, no way. And PiiLiPiLi is just barely gonna be able to scout this out with the Mothership Core. This is an enormous reveal. Nobody builds their second pylon as a proxy across the map unless you're looking to go all in off of one base and just gateways. This has got to be a big attack, as says PiiLiPiLi in his head. He's gonna hunt down that probe. He will find it. He will kill it. And he may even be able to kill. Oh, hold on. Mothership Core getting focus fire down by the stalkers. PiiLiPiLi does need to force these stalkers back, but he's looking for an opportunity. Yeah, he's gonna be able to use these stalkers to buy time. He kills off one of HuK's stalkers. Is gonna be able to kill off the pylon. Honestly, I know players who would have tapped out just from this, just from losing all of that. He's gonna get supply blocked now because his pylon was delayed. He has to throw down another pylon, but he's supply blocked, and this is only going to unsupply block him. After that, he's gonna have a immediate round of units that I assume are gonna be coming out. But HuK is also behind on that natural expansion. He's gonna be not necessarily super ahead on tech. I mean, Twilight Council is coming out, but Robotics LD is also coming up for PiiLiPiLi. PiiLiPiLi is in such a good spot. He's 10 supply ahead, 16 to 6. It's more than double. It's almost triple. In army supply, I mean. And I mean, you might say it's fairly early on the game. That'll even out over time. But this really is a pretty big deal, I think. HuK manages to reestablish the pylon. I don't even know how. But Dark Shrine, it seems like, is going to be the option for HuK. Man, he is going to be sitting on very, very few resources. Very, very few army units, I should say. Is going for the proxy gateway as well. There's a very a low likelihood that PiiLiPiLi will actually go and scout out that gateway again. Who does that? Who loses the proxy pylon like that? and then immediately just sends a probe across the map and replants it down as soon as he ends up losing. The probe, the pylon, and even a stalker for his troubles. But PiiLiPiLi, having gone for the robo, he does get out an observer almost immediately. So with King Sejong Station, there's not exactly going to be a warp prism coming out from HuK. He can't elevator his DTs up into the main base. Maybe he can hope that the observer is not sitting dead center like it is right now, so it won't cover the whole ramp. If it was the army is all sitting over here, maybe the one DT sneaks in over here, the other DT pulls the army out of position. I suppose this could work out. Oh, PiiLiPiLi, I guess, scouted out with his own hallucinating phoenix. HuK was trying to scout around. And HuK doesn't really have much of an idea. He doesn't know whether or not there was a robo thrown down, if there was a Twilight Council, if there was a Stargate. I mean, he probably knows at this point there's not a Stargate, because that would have hit by now. But here we go. The Dark Templar are coming on in, and they don't accomplish anything. They can't do anything. And yeah, the HuK keeps them alive. He can make them Archons, and I feel like he probably has to go into Charge Lot Archon. But no, he's researching Blink instead of Charge. But this is a hard place to come back from. Double Forge coming down from HuK. Interesting to go for the double upgrades. I guess if you are in such a gateway heavy composition and all these units that aren't really relying on the splash damage or spells to get things done, then yeah, weapon upgrades do make a bit of sense. +1 and weapons is being researched for both of these players, in fact. And third expansion is coming down over here for PiiLiPiLi. DT does scout out, and I think it kills off a probe. PiiLiPiLi immediately going to move around and scout around for that DT. Does he not really? He still doesn't know about that gateway. That's going to cause him problems for all sorts of time, or a long period of time in this game. Blink has finished up for HuK, so he can try and blink up into the main base, get some pickoffs. He may be able to get the mothership core. It's only really protected by these two pylons, and I don't think he'll be in the range of two different photon overcharges at the same time. 4 probes go down at the natural expansion instead, and HuK gets out of there with every single one of the stalkers. One of them very damaged, but gets out alive nonetheless. Third expansion also coming down for HuK, so again, he's not ahead by any means, but he's trying to take risks that will give him an opportunity to come back. He's doing little harassment forces with these stalkers. He's still got this gateway around that can maybe warp in a couple of adepts later on, or even just another set of DTs and go after probes at the third. He's going for double upgrades to try and take a better engagement later down the line. Well, I thought he would go for double upgrades, but where's that second forge? There's no armor upgrade. That's unfortunate. A missed opportunity. Not that I think that armor upgrades in PvP are the most major thing ever. All the units just hit so hard that it's like, cool, you reduce your immortal damage from 50 to 49. Good job. Okay, well, seems like a DT is going to end up revealing the gateway as it tries to retreat out on maybe not necessarily the best path. He's going to end up falling, so PiiLiPiLi should be done with that, but the stalkers use that as an opportunity to move straight into the natural expansion, killing off more of these workers, and the best part about this is that they have an easy retreat path. They can easily just blink out from the low ground. Photon overcharge is thrown down and does manage to kill off one of the stalkers, but one stalker for 8 workers, and keeping PiiLiPiLi at home, keeping him chasing around, and even keeping that warp gate alive for a little bit longer is really no. Oh my god, PiiLiPiLi is gonna forget to kill the warp gate. Okay, he's gonna use one stalker to kill off the pylon. That is smart. Don't allow this to delay your push in for any longer. But HuK is sitting at the top of the ramp. Luckily for PiiLiPiLi, he does not have all of his units trying to move up the ramp at the same time. Could have been very dangerous if he got force fielded in there with all of his immortals, his sentries on the getting split in half on that ramp. Looks like another DT or 2 getting warped in, but this time for PiiLiPiLi, he's trying to counteract that Dark Templar harassment that he was facing off against. HuK mildly supply blocked, as it seems like the Warp Prism dropping out a DT in the natural expansion. It will get taken out as it tries to gun down the Photon Cannon. HuK is on top of it. But the Warp Prism rejoins with the army, and this is going to be a pretty scary push-in. HuK has to defend a very wide area, and I think that he's already out of position. I don't know if he can defend this anymore. Force fields go down, trapping in a lot of PiiLiPiLi's units, but PiiLiPiLi not quite in range with his sentries, it seems like, to force field out a majority of HuK's. I really do feel like this is that money area where if you got a couple of force fields out, Archons are not. The Archons are not really going to be able to go to a good spot. Oh my god, the Observer was taken out for HuK, or sorry, for PiiLiPiLi. And PiiLiPiLi is starting to lose so many units to the DTs. I think HuK is going to absolutely tear through this engagement now. It's not even close, as the DTs just do so much damage. +2 weapon DTs, they're doing 55 damage a shot. They're out DPSing PiiLiPiLi's own Immortals. And losing that much supply, there's no way to come back from that. GG, HuK, tying up the series 1-1. The curse prevails. The 1-1 curse. Oop. All right. Well, with the series tied up 1-1, we hop on to game number 3, but we're going to take a short little break while we get that lobby set up. We'll see you guys in just a little bit for the rest of the series. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, in game number 3, as we spawn down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map on top of the blue Protoss player representing Team Evil Geniuses in EG Blue. That's right, we corrected the red or orange problem for you colorblind folk. Give it up for HuK. And his opponent spawning up here in the top left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Protoss player from Psystorm Gaming. It's PiiLiPiLi. Okay, so quick bracket update, by the way. We did have Kelazur fall 1-3 to PuK. Now, the way that this works is PuK is qualified. Big congratulations to PuK. He's qualified alongside, I believe it was, oh man, I'm trying to remember. It was True and someone. True and Cham. True and Cham both ended up qualifying in the winner's bracket. And in the loser's bracket, we now have PuK qualified. The winner of this series will also qualify. The loser of this series will face Kelazur in a best-of-5 to determine who is going to qualify in the last spot, that 5th place spot. So taking a look, we do have, double gateway openings once again. It really was just that one time that PiiLi decided to go for the single gateway opening versus Bales. Haven't seen it any other times. And that's what I was saying. That's 99% of the time these days in PvP, you have the double gateway opening because you want to get out the 2 stalkers, or you want to get out the 2 adepts. Mothership Core does pop out, and we do have HuK going for a fast Nexus, as we want to note he did go for the Nexus before he started up any of these gateway units, and because of that, his units will be slightly further delayed, but he goes for an Adept and a Sentry, which is less ordinary, especially considering they're going to be much more delayed. So PiiLiPiLi is going to be sitting in the brush with these stalkers, maybe hoping that he'll catch his opponent's stalkers, but he instead catches the Adept, and the Adept should be able to shade away before taking a lot of damage. Should be able to shade past, I should say. And PiiLiPiLi going to be on the lookout for it now. He knows that it's somewhere around here. He does find it. Oh, he catches it right before the shade goes off. He may be able to kill it off. It's going to be really close over here. One more shot. Boom. There it goes down. And what exactly did HuK manage to scout out? Well, I think that he came in with the earlier probe, so he may have seen all of this with just that. But regardless, he has pretty much all the information he would have gotten with that Adept regardless. The robotic facility is coming out for both of these players, although a little bit earlier on for HuK, and that just seems to be the trend right now. Everything is coming out a tad bit earlier for HuK because he went for that faster Nexus a little bit earlier. He got out his his tech a little bit earlier, and it's all because he delayed his gateway units for a little bit longer than PiiLiPiLi did. But he got out his sentries faster than him because he's now up to even 3, so he's gonna have a decent amount of energy for hallucinations and all of that good stuff. Now, what is PiiLiPiLi going to be making out of that robo? He's going to immediately be going for the robotics, or for the Observer. Is he going to be going for the Immortal? Looks like the Immortal is the tech choice for him right now. Oh no, that's for HuK. That's for HuK. Both of them going for the Immortal right now. Did a probe make it? Oh, Adept. Adept made its way in. Not really able to get a whole lot of damage done. Kills off 1 worker total. But it's going to be one of those games where we sit back, we relax for a little bit, calm down, and say, what are these players going to be going for now? What is the late game going to look like? Because a lot of the time, these games aren't necessarily decided by the strategic decision making of the buildings they're throwing down, although occasionally it has. But more often, it's the positioning of their army, the way that they use their army, as well as the unit composition that they might be going for. Well, Hallucinate Phoenix coming in over here for PiiLiPiLi, just saying, okay, got your robo, I kind of know what you're up to now, in case he didn't really scout it out before. He saw the Twilight Council as well, I believe, so he should know that he should be thinking about getting up his own, getting up Blink, because you don't want to be caught off guard without Blink for too long. But man, these two players have been playing all day long. So as much as I'm talking about how, man, I'm getting tired casting everything, these two players have been playing for almost 6 hours. So I'm sure that they're also getting tired. We may start seeing more of those small little mistakes that end up happening, since 6 hours is definitely one of the limits that I think most players will end up just sitting down and playing for an entire day, just continuously. PiiLiPiLi's had a couple of breaks. PiiLiPiLi had, I think, a 15-20 minute break before his series versus Bales. HuK, having made it to the winners finals, lost a champ, but then he had a lot of time to just sit in that winners finals match. So maybe they're a little bit fresher than I'm giving them credit for, but Adept killing off 3 workers, definitely not too bad. But still, I'm sure that they are getting tired. This qualifier has lasted for a long, long time, and even if you end up losing this match and you have another chance at qualifying by playing versus Kelazur, you really just don't want to have to do that. This has already been such a long day. To add further to it is probably going to be a bit painful. Well, both these players continuing to get up more and more of these immortals, getting up their unit compositions that don't look too different. It seems like HuK going a tad bit more adept heavy. So the adepts, as we've seen before, they can deal a lot of, or they can absorb a lot of damage, I think is one of the most important parts of it. And not only that, but they can also shade directly onto a bunch of the immortals. They can try and focus fire them down. They don't necessarily do the extra damage to armor that stalkers do, but they still do fairly well versus immortals. Especially since they don't just die to immortals immediately. HuK is making a big push out across the map. It seems like PiiLiPiLi with the Hallucinate Phoenix has some idea about this, as he's moving out along that same pathway himself, and they are going to encounter each other. Both these players immediately backing up, saying, no, let's not limbo line my units in. And HuK is just going to go all the way home. He's like, oh, I don't want to take that. Never mind. I'm surprised he doesn't try and take out these rocks. I've almost never, or very, very rarely, seen a Protoss player not want to take out these rocks when they're attacking into another Protoss player. Or even when you have a Protoss player versus a Zerg player, usually you end up seeing them take out these rocks anyways, so they have the other angle of attack. At least one set of them, because then it acts also as a choke. Oh, but the Warp Prism full of how many? What units were in there? Okay, it looks like Adepts, just Adepts. So not Sentries or not double Immortals or anything. I saw there were 4 units inside, but you could lose more valuable units for certain, but still sucks that he loses the Warp Prism itself. The Warp Prism acts as that micro potential, also be able to put counter pressure on your opponent. And considering both these players are going to have, oh no, HuK has Blink in fact, PiiLiPiLi never got Blink. He's been making so many of these Adepts that he ended up getting Resonating Glaives, which is something that HuK is still opting to go for now, but it's still only about 3/4 of the way finished. It's not going to be finished for probably this fight if it starts up right now. Oh my god, HuK is only engaging with half of his army so far. A lot of force fields going down, and it seems like PiiLiPiLi is just going to be able to shade on in. Photon overcharges going off. So one of these immortals not really getting too involved in the fight, but it seems like all of the tank ability of HuK's army has been taken out. And now the pylons, the immortals, the stalkers, they are getting focus fire down. And PiiLiPiLi seems like he's going to be able to take a great engagement and take the game. Bringing the series 2-1 in his favor once again. Okay, PiiLiPiLi showing us that he is not to be trifled with. Doing pretty well. Okay, so our next map, as I figure that out, I have it written somewhere over on this monitor. It is going to be Galactic. Galactic. Galactic Process. I almost said Protocol again, and then I struggled to remember what the actual name was. So we invite HuK in, we invite PiiLiPiLi, who's in a replay right now. Okay, so he's taking a look at something in that replay. We're gonna invite Take TV in. So as soon as PiiLiPiLi's out. Oh no, sorry, he's not in a replay. My game is just bugged and it says that he's in a replay. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's normally considered a little bit BM to just immediately look at the replay when you still have to play a series, because one, your opponent has to wait there, and two, it's getting that extra information that you shouldn't necessarily have been getting. Maybe you can glean a little bit of information from the end game stats screen, but... Okay, PiiLiPiLi asking for a minute, so we'll give him a minute. Oh boy, but yeah, I am a little bit sad I missed the Kelazor versus PuK series, because I'm sure that was a good one. That ended up being a 3-1 in favor of PuK, so that really also makes me happy, just because I think that PuK is one of those players who has been pretty vocal about not really enjoying the losers bracket as much. It's a pretty frustrating experience oftentimes to play after you lose a series and everything. And he ended up losing to True 3-0, which definitely stings, but PuK is, I think he's just come so far in terms of his mentality, in terms of it just being able to play without letting I won't say small things, because it's a pretty big thing like losing, but even letting the big things or the small things really faze him as much. He's learned to just really embrace the kind of mentality that he's always really believed in, which is just enjoying the game and having fun and playing, which I think is so cool. So very, very happy for PuK. Kelazor, man, talking about players who are tired, Kelazor has to play in the losers match, and he doesn't even get a break right now. He's playing in Cheesadelphia. Okay, both the players have said ready. We're going. GLHF. Awesome, we're getting started. Ladies and gentlemen, Galactic Process, the next map. But yeah, to put this in perspective, Kelazor has played all of his matches today, and he started at the very beginning, got knocked to the losers bracket, which means he has to play the most matches possible. Having to play through the entire losers bracket, you end up playing 2 rounds for each area that you would advance on instead of 1, because you have to play versus whoever else is in the losers bracket, and you have to play whoever gets knocked down from to the losers bracket. And on top of that, he has played a total of how many people? He's played a total of 5 best of 3s in Cheesadelphia all today. And after this, he's got to play, probably right now he's playing, a best of 3 versus True. Who, oh boy, that's just a really, really long day. Who also, he got 3-0'd by earlier on in the bracket, so he's going to go from that. Unfortunately, like, the likely situation is going to be a repeat result. He might end up losing to True again, and then he's going to have to play the loser of this series. That's... Man, I feel sorry for Kelazor. But that's sort of the reality of it. So anyways, big shout out to Kralazona, as we've got a 14-month resub over there. But ladies and gentlemen, we are getting started. Let me just get the overlays up to date. There we go. As we start down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, the blue Protoss player from Team Evil Geniuses and EG Blue, it's HuK. And his opponent spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, the red Protoss player from Psystorm Gaming. Give it up for PiiLiPiLi. Oh boy. So, Galactic Process. A map that I think, just because of the nature of Protoss units and Immortals and how many Immortals get made in this matchup these days, I feel like these rocks, maybe these rocks also, but far less likely, but most likely these rocks could get knocked down and definitely make it harder to defend those thirds. I feel like the only map that we've really seen PvP go to third expansions that really end up being difficult to defend, or the positioning of the third really becomes a huge deal. Maybe Frost. Frost was kind of a little bit of that, although I don't think a huge amount. It was just honestly a huge overpowering force in a lot of ways. And PiiLiPiLi had a disadvantageous angle on Frost when he attacked in versus, I think that, man, was that versus Bales? No, that was versus HuK. That was versus HuK, I think. Game number 1. But he had that, but he still managed to win, where half of his units were attacking like the Nexus and stuff. But besides that, King Sejong Station is the only map that we've really seen the 3rd expansion locations really come into play and have a significant impact on the game. But in this game, we'll see, we have double stalker openings from both of the players. So no kind of foregoing one of the early stalkers from HuK. No messing around with that. PiiLiPiLi is moving around, looking for proxies once again, since I definitely paid off on King Sejong Station when he did it versus HuK. But seems like PiiLiPiLi gets the better end of the stalker trade, and HuK just retreats on out of there. PiiLiPiLi is pretty content with that. He's stolen his 5 minerals. He took his cake. I think that's the best part about the cakes now in StarCraft 2 right now, where you have all of these cakes being mined, these birthday cakes. And the best part about it is that when you steal minerals from your opponent, they know you stole the minerals because these are massive cakes. These aren't just tiny little cupcakes. They can feel it. Oh, PiiLiPiLi getting a way better series of engagements over here on the stalkers. He should be able to kill off one of them and keep one of his stalkers alive. Even gets a couple of shots off on the other ones. Nicely done over there. HuK engaging up the ramp, definitely not working out too well for him. I'm surprised just because I feel like that's one of the more anticipated things that would happen on this map. Just because of the layout, you know that you defend this one location, and most likely you aren't going to let any other probes or stalkers or adepts or anything in without you noticing at least. But one stalker loss, it sucks. It can play an impact later on if there's a mid-game push. Having that one extra stalker again, it always helps, but I don't think it's going to be game-deciding factor by any means. Warp Prism going to be coming out over here for HuK. Observer coming out for PiiLiPiLi. So PiiLiPiLi may be playing a bit more on the defensive this game. I wonder. We do have Resonating Glaives also coming out first for HuK, which I think is a big difference from most of the other games. Most of the other games, HuK has been the one that's gone straight up for Blink. He's loved his Blink play. But in this game, by going for Resonating Glaives, it really does signal to me that maybe he's thinking about getting far more aggressive. He's on 4 warp gates, or soon to be 4 warp gates once he transfers this one into one. Can warp in a decent chunk of adepts and do some nice harassment, but potentially also follow this up with his army and really try and put the pressure on. Use the Warp Prism to attack from the back and move in with the army at the front. But I think moving into the army is going to be really, really risky without some sort of distraction in the back at least. Just because of, again, this ramp, you defend this ramp, unless the rocks get knocked down, you really don't have to worry about anything. You can just force field in any army that tries to move up this very, very thin choke point. Also, there are rocks over here that open up another avenue of attack to move into the natural, but we haven't really seen that come into play too much. Big thank you to SCTT000. Thank you so much, Skutu, for the sub, brand new sub. Very much appreciated, friend. Okay, well, Resonating Glaives is about to finish up just in time for PiiLiPiLi to move on, or for PiiLiPiLi to move in, and HuK should have that for the defensive. HuK is also moving in with these Resonating Glaives Adepts. Couple stalkers are already warped in over here. The Resonating Glaives Adepts are not Resonating Glaives just yet. Now they finish it up. But they kill off a couple of workers so far. 4 workers killed. We have, I think, just Hallucination over there for PiiLiPiLi. But PiiLiPiLi not falling too far behind. He loses 4 workers, but he takes a fast third. And he should be totally A-okay so far. Oh, losing 7, losing 8. He's starting to lose quite a few more, and is moving back into the main base. Photon Overcharge used once again, losing 12 workers this time. Well, I should say it's 12 workers, but he kills off the Warp Prism, and he has a third much, much faster than HuK. I feel like it's going to kind of balance out. It'll equalize and stabilize. The big loss over there is that HuK committed a lot of his Adepts, and also lost the Warp Prism. And in a game where your production cycles in a mirror matchup really do end up mattering quite a bit, that could be costly for HuK. He might not have as big of an army when PiiLiPiLi just goes for the big push out across the map. HuK scouts around and sees that the 3rd expansion is already finished up, if he didn't already. Sees the army composition and sees that, hey, Twilight Council is being chrono boosted. Could be Blink or it could be Resonating Glaze. It's honestly hard to tell. HuK is not too far behind on that third expansion, but he is getting up a Robotics Bay, and I do like that decision. Getting up the Disruptors really quickly is one really nice way to account for the fact that you don't necessarily have as big of an army, but at the same time, you're also putting all of your, I think the phrase is putting all your cards in one hole, but putting all your eggs in one basket. That's a good way to put it. As he's saying, like, if this Disruptor hits, I will defend. If this Disruptor completely whiffs, I will not defend. And I really do feel like that's what this game may come down to. And remember, HuK is down 1-2. PiiLiPiLi, he just needs to win this game. If that Disruptor, I mean, the Disruptor isn't even going to be out in time for this engagement. And I think that HuK's army is maybe better positioned right now, but with some good force seals, exactly. PiiLiPiLi can just lock out this army. These pylons are going to go down in no time. I mean, Photon Overcharge will only do so much. Get another round of force shields, and HuK is not even going to try and save this third. That is a massive amount of damage. Behind this, PiiLiPiLi is still mining. He's still got a third. First Disruptor is about to pop out, and that could be the most important Disruptor of them all. Adepts might end up shading on in. They do end up finishing. I'm really surprised he lets that finish after having his army force shielded out. This could be a really good engagement over here for HuK. HuK is force shielding out the army. He keeps the Immortals on the backside. They're getting focus fire down by the Photon Overcharge. HuK is doing a great job on the defense over here, but PiiLiPiLi warps in on the high ground. He drops out a lot of these units. He needs to unload some of these sentries and maybe force shield out some of the Adepts, and he is going to be able to do that, at least keeping the Immortals out of the mix as well, and even picks up the Immortal that he has on the low ground, takes out the Mothership Core, gonna take out the Stalkers. I think that PiiLiPiLi just has a little bit too much at this stage. He did a really good job of moving into that third expansion right before the Disruptors finished up, and I thought that just shading in with all those Adepts without the rest of your army was going to be a really questionable decision, but PiiLiPiLi proves me wrong and takes a massive lead in this game, loses his Immortal. I mean, the Disruptors are painful, they're annoying, and this force field's going to finally run out, and the probes are coming off the line. But when the probes are coming off the line, you also know so is the win. As PiiLiPiLi just charges on forward with the +1 weapons upgrade. And HuK is really just trying to take the best engagement he can as he sort of sits here and absorbs it. GG! PiiLiPiLi qualifies for DreamHack Montreal after not being able to go to IEM Shanghai due to a passport problem. Big congratulations out to him. I really am happy for him. Of course, HuK is not out of it just yet. He has one last shot as he is going to play versus Kelazor in a best-of-5. As far as I'm aware, I'm going to say this really quickly. I've never had that information confirmed, but logically through the bracket, the top 5 I know advance. And the 5th place player is a tie between right now Kelazor and HuK. So one of those two is going to advance on. We're going to find out in a little bit. We're going to hop to a short break while I talk with the admin and sort things out. And we'll hopefully see you guys in just a little bit with that 5th place match, our last series of the day, as we start hitting the 6.5 hour mark.